So let's take a look at all of these styles. So I'm going to be using my style sheet page. I've done my scripts, I've got my web or my element. What I notice in here is that I've got some styles here. On each of these buttons to make them 100 pixels wide, and I don't really want to keep writing that out. I want to be able to change that in my style sheet and this one as well, but I've got a small problem with this one because this one has got a name. These don't have names. So I'm going to give these names, and I'm going to give them all the same name. ID equals B1. You can call it whatever you like. I've just called it B1 because it's the first set of buttons, and I'm just going to copy that and paste it for each one of my buttons. So they've all got the same ID. And in my style sheet, you remember, if we're talking about an ID, we just need to use the hash symbol, then the name of the item, and then style it up. So I'm going to do that for the B1s. So hash B1, and there's my, oops, too far. There's my style. So what style do I want to apply to them? Going back to it, I just need to pinch this. Okay, but we can't just write it in like that. If we take a look back at the styles, how do we write the width? Oops. We need to sort of have style width of a certain. I thought I'd got one in there. I don't think I have already. No, so I'm going to have to write this one out. So all I need to do to change the width is say the width is 100 pixels. So that is applying the width to the buttons. So I can get rid of these from all of the buttons. Anything called B1, I don't need to say what the width is now. That is in my style sheet. There we go. So I first of all need to save the style sheet and then save my change. So all these buttons are now 100 wide as they were before, but it's being controlled in my style sheet with one small line of code instead of having 4 rather large bits of code there. So let's just check that out. Refresh the page. Remember, I can only see it when I click on jab022. There we go. And just to make sure that the style sheet is working, as suppose if we change that to width 200 and save that, refresh the page, click on jab022, there you go. All the buttons are now 200 wide. So that was good. That was a nice easy change. I can change my buttons, all 4 of them, just by doing that. Now I couldn't do that with the picture because the picture, the image, has already got a name object. So I couldn't just change it by doing it in the B1, but I can do exactly the same thing with object. So if I copy that, paste that there and change the name from B1 to object, I've now styled the object to have a width of 100 pixels, which at the moment I've got that line there, style, so I can get rid of that. And now that will automatically be 100 pixels wide. Let's change that to 200 so you can see it. Let's save that and save the jab022, refresh the page, Click on there, there you go, it's 200 wide. Let's put that back to 100. Save it, refresh the page, click on that, there you go, all back to 100. So I am beginning to reduce the amount of code that lives on these buttons, okay, by having some JavaScript, so taken a lot of code out of there, and by having a style sheet which takes a lot of code out of there. I could also do this one here where I've got a style inside here. I can take that out and put that into its own style sheet. So this one is called buttons. So if I go to my style sheet and change that for buttons, the style that I want to do there is display none. So if I go back to styles and type display none. So I can go back to my jab022 and I can get rid of that. So there we go. So if I refresh my page, click on jab022, there we go, everything's normal, nothing's changed, nothing's crashed, and I've made my code loads neater. Got one more thing to do for the time being. What I want to do is put these buttons and everything else right in the center of the page, and having my style sheet, now that's easily possible.